That's not good. That's not good.
Yes. Scripture I want to read.
How about that? I can hear you, no?
You can hear.
I hear.
Folks out there.
Huh?
You can hear folks out there.
No, this is. I can hear that little rap.
Your ears.
No, I can just hear it. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Good, man, good. Glad to hear that. So that our mind is always, it's a blessing to have you join in with us during that time of worship. And what we're going to do, everybody has what they need. We're going to go ahead and get ready to get started. So I'm going to ask you to stand up, please, Jerusalem. Women will cover their heads and the men will uncover their heads. Go ahead and get ready to get started.
Our Father which art in heaven,
Our Father which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy will be done in earth,
Thy will be done in earth
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread,
Give us this day our daily bread,
and forgive us our debts,
and forgive us our debts,
as we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation,
And lead us not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever.
forever.
Praise the Lord.
Praise the Lord.
For he is good,
For he is good,
and his mercy endureth forever.
and his mercy endures forever.
Praise the Lord God of Israel.
Praise the Lord God of Israel.
For he is good,
For he is good,
and his mercy endureth forever.
and his mercy endures forever.
In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
The King of Kings,
The King of Kings,
Lord of Lords,
the Lord of Lords,
Ancient of Days,
the Ancient of Days,
God of all spirits.
the God of all spirits.
Amen.
Amen.
Today's scripture reading will come from the book of Joel, chapter 3, beginning at verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. Be your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. I am strong. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full. The fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. I just read to you from the book of Joel, chapter 3, verses 9 and 10 and 12 through 14. May the Lord have a blessing to the reading of his word. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen. First, giving honor to the Most High, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and as always, it's a blessing. Anytime that I can share God's word, I'm truly thankful for having this opportunity today to do so. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started with today's lesson, and the title is The Four Beasts of Dan. This lesson is a lesson about prophecy. And prophecy not only shows us what's to take place in the future, prophecy fulfilled proves to us that God is real and the Bible truly is the inspired word of God. As Peter said in speaking of prophecy, he said, holy men of God spake as they were moved by the Holy Ghost, meaning men of God gave utterance as they were inspired by God's Spirit. And in this lesson, we're going to focus on the message that Daniel was inspired to reveal concerning the 4 Gentile kingdoms, which were to rule this world. And it was only to be 4. And what is remarkable is not only did Daniel tell us of each of these kingdoms hundreds of years before they came into existence, he called them in succession. And history proves not only the accuracy of Daniel's prophecy, but again, that God is real and that the Bible truly is the inspired word of God. People question the existence of God, but it is prophecy and the understanding of that prophecy that removes all doubt. We're going to see in the course of this lesson, again, that God gave us prophecy as a way of proving that he's God. Because who else can tell us of things that are to come before they come into existence, but the one that created the heavens and the earth and all that there is therein, the omniscient and all-knowing God. And we're going to see that God revealed to Daniel that there would be 4 ruling kingdoms, and only 4. And that it would be the Gentiles who would be in rule when the Lord makes his second coming. Off in Isaiah, the 46th chapter, and again, the title is the 4 beasts of Daniel. And God wants us to serve him. He wants us to worship him. And he is willing to prove that he is God. And again, the way in which he does that is through prophecy. Listen to what the Lord says here in Isaiah. Isaiah 46. And pick it up at verse number 9. 46 and 9. Go ahead when you get there.
Remember the former things of old. For I am God.
Go ahead.
And there is none else. I am God and there is none like me.
This is none other than Jesus, the only God that man has known. He said, now you remember the former things of old. He said, for I am God. He said, there's none else. He said, I'm God. He said, and there is none like me. What is it that only he as God can do? Verse number 10, go ahead.
Declaring again from the beginning and from ancient times the things that are not yet done.
What?
Saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure.
See, he's giving us something to witness that he is God. He said he declares the end from the beginning and from ancient times the things that are not yet done. Even before it comes into existence, God has revealed it to us by way of his prophets. See it manifest itself, then we know that there is a God. Turn over to Isaiah the 34th chapter. Because the Lord said that he would do all that he pleased. And here the Lord assures us that all that he has said will come to pass. Isaiah 34, we're going to read one verse, 34 verse 16, because the Lord had Isaiah to prophesy of the impending indignation that the Lord was going to pour out on this word. 34 and 16. What did he say?
Seek ye out of the book of the Lord.
So if you want to search out the secret things of God, he said, seek ye out of the book of the Lord. He said, and read. Because the Lord tells you in Amos, he won't do anything in secret that he won't reveal unto his servants. The prophets, he says, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. Go ahead.
No one of these shall fail. None shall wander me.
All must be fulfilled. Go ahead.
For my mouth that hath commanded, and his spirit that hath gathered them.
Turn over to Isaiah the 55th chapter. And again, just a way of getting an assurance that all that God has said must come to pass. That's why the Lord tells you, he said, you wait on the Lord. Because he's going to bring it all into existence. All that he has uttered. All that he has said. Isaiah 55. We're going to pick it up at verse number 10. Again, he reiterates here why we're able to have the confidence assurance, I said, must come into being. 55 and verse number 10. Go ahead.
For as the rain cometh down,
Uh-huh.
and the snow from heaven,
Go ahead.
and returneth not thither, but watereth the earth,
Go ahead.
maketh it bring forth and bud, that it may give seed to the sower and bread to the eater.
So the rain, he said, as the rain comes down and the snow from heaven, he said it does not return until it accomplishes that which the Lord has sent it to do. So shall his word. Verse number 11, go ahead.
So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth.
What's going to happen?
It shall not return unto me void,
Well, what is he going to do?
but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it.
All that God has said must come into being. Turn over to Psalms 137. Psalms 137. We're going to see that what the Lord's words, that it most definitely does come to pass. We're going to look at a prophecy here that the Lord had David to give. David was the king of Israel. And David gave this prophecy concerning the children of Israel going into captivity. Hundreds of years before it took place. 137, verse number 1. Go ahead.
By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down.
Uh-huh.
Yea, we wept when we remembered Zion.
Now, in this psalm, say now David, who's a sweet psalmist, who's also a prophet of the Lord, he said, by the rivers of Babylon, he said, there we sat down and we wept when we remembered Jerusalem. David was never in Babylon crying about Jerusalem. This is talking about the children of Israel who were to be taken into captivity by the Babylonians. And we're going to see when this occurred. He said, by the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yea, we wept when we remembered Zion. Go ahead.
We hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof.
Uh-huh.
For there they that carried us away captive required of us a song.
Again, David was never in captivity. This is something that's future. He said, we hung our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof. For there they that carried us away captives required of us a song. Go ahead.
They that wasted us required of us mirth.
They say, sing this song with joy. We should be familiar with this as our forefathers. They would tell us, sing us one of them old Negro spirituals, one of them Negro hymns. But go ahead.
Sing us one of the songs of Zion.
What was his reply?
How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land?
Turn over to 2 Chronicles, the 36th chapter. He said, by the rivers of Babylon, there they wept. We're going to look at the fulfillment of that prophecy that David gave concerning Israel being taken into captivity. 2 Chronicles 36, and we're going to pick it up at verse number 5. By this time, the nation had been split. The northern kingdom had been taken into captivity by the Assyrians in 721 BC. All that was left was the southern kingdom, which went by the name Judah. 2 Chronicles 36. Pick it up at verse number 5. We're going to look at the last three kings to reign over the southern kingdom. Go ahead when you get there.
Joachim was 20 and 5 years old when he began to reign.
And when he began to reign, history tells you that this is 608 BC. And how long did he reign?
And he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem.
So from 608 BC to 597 BC, it said Jehoiakim, he reigned in Jerusalem. And he did that which what?
And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord his God.
Go ahead. And as a result of him not being obedient unto the Lord, what the Lord would do to the children of Israel when they were disobedient, he would punish them by allowing their enemies because Jehoiakim, he said he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, and how did the Lord punish him? Go ahead, verse number 6.
Against him came up Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and bound him in fetters to carry him to Babylon.
Go ahead.
Nebuchadnezzar also carried up the vessels of the house of the Lord to Babylon, and put them in his temple at Babylon. The acts of Jehoiakim and his abominations which he did, and that which was found in him, behold, they are written in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah. And Jehoiakim his son reigned in his stead.
So Jehoiakim was taken into captivity by Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. As David said, by the rivers of Babylon, we wept. Now, when Jehoiakim was removed, Jehoiakim, his son, reigned in his stead. And that began in 597 BC, but go ahead. Verse number 9.
Jehoiakim was 8 years old when he began to reign.
You can read this in 2 Kings, and it tells you that he was 18 years old when he took over the reins.
He reigned 3 months and 10 days in Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord.
So he was done quick. Verse number 10, go ahead.
And when the year was expired,
what happened?
King Nebuchadnezzar sent and brought him to Babylon with the goodly vessels of the house of the Lord, and made Zedekiah his brother king over Judah and Jerusalem.
So Nebuchadnezzar laid siege unto Jerusalem twice, and taken some of the people into captivity. Verse number 11, go ahead. This is the last king that Israel had. Go ahead.
Zedekiah was 120 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 11 years in Jerusalem.
Go ahead.
Did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord his God.
And unfortunately, the majority of the kings of Israel, that was their mantra. As it said about Zedekiah and Jehoiakim and Jehoiakim, all had did evil in the sight of the Lord. Go ahead.
And humbled not himself before Jeremiah the prophet, speaking from the mouth of the Lord.
Go ahead.
And he also rebelled against King Nebuchadnezzar, who had made him swear by God. But he stiffened his neck and hardened his heart from turning unto the Lord God of Israel. Moreover, all the chief of the priests and the people transgressed very much after all the abominations of the heathen, and polluted the house of the Lord which he had hallowed in Jerusalem. And the Lord God of their fathers sent to them by his messengers, rising up betimes and sending, because he had compassion on his people and on his dwelling place.
That's why the Lord had sent Jeremiah to tell the people, just be obedient, and I won't drive you out of the land. But Israel refused to obey. And so again, the Lord brought Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians upon them. Took them into captivity. But go ahead.
16. But they mocked the messengers of God, and despised his words, and misused his prophets, until the wrath of the Lord arose against his people, till there was no remedy.
Go ahead.
Therefore he brought upon them the king of the Chaldees,
Who did what?
who slew their young men with a sword in the house of their sanctuary, and had no compassion upon young man or maiden, old man or him that stooped for age. He gave them all to his sword. Into his hand, and all the vessels of the house of God, great and small, and the treasures of the house of the Lord, and the treasures of the king and of his princes, all these he brought to Babylon.
So Israel was taken into captivity by the Babylonians. Remember, David prophesied of that in Psalms. David, he reigned over Israel until 970 BC. Then he died, and Solomon took over. What we just got through reading didn't take place until 5 BC, over 300 years later. But Israel was servants to the Babylonians. Return to Jeremiah, the 27th chapter. Because the Lord had Jeremiah to tell us something else concerning the Babylonians and their reign. And that is that not just Israel going to serve them, but that the Babylonians are going to rule over the whole known world. 27:1. Go ahead when you get there.
In the beginning of the reign of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, came this word unto Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Thus saith the Lord to me,
What?
make thee bonds and yokes,
Go ahead.
put them upon thy neck,
And he's going to tell you why. Go ahead.
and send them to the king of Edom, and to the king of Moab,
Uh-huh.
and to the king of the Ammonites, and to the king of Tyrus,
Go ahead.
and to the king of Sidon, by the hand of the messengers which came to Jerusalem unto Zedekiah, king of Judah.
So the word came to Jeremiah, and he said, you take these objects or symbols of confinement, make ye bonds and yokes and put them upon your neck and send them to the king of Edom and Moab, the Ammonites and Tyrus and the kings of Sidon. He said, by the hand of the messengers which came to Jerusalem unto Zedekiah, king of Judah, and command them what?
And command them to say unto their master,
Uh-huh.
Thus saith the Lord God, the God of Israel.
What?
Thus shall ye say unto your master,
What's the message? Go ahead.
I have made the earth, the man and the beast that are upon the ground,
Uh-huh.
by my great power and by my outstretched arm, and have given it unto whom it seemed meet.
He said, I give it to whom it seems good to me, since I'm the one that created. And who is it that he's given the earth into his hands? Go ahead.
And now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon,
Uh-huh.
my servant, and the beast of the field have I given him also to serve him.
He said, I've given all these lands. All of them are going to serve my servant Nebuchadnezzar. And he called him his servant, not because Nebuchadnezzar believed in the true and living God, but God chooses whom he will. He used Nebuchadnezzar to punish his people, Israel. He said, I've given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. He said, my servant. He said, as well as the beast of the field, I've given him also to serve him. Verse number 7, go ahead.
And all nations shall serve him.
He's going to rule over the whole world. There were mighty nations before him. The Egyptians were they were a mighty kingdom, a mighty nation. But they didn't rule the whole world. The first to do so was none other than the Babylonians. He said, all nations shall serve him. Go ahead.
And his son, and his son's son, until the very time of his land come. And many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of him.
Because this is the time of the Gentiles. Sons, and each one of them had a time to reign. Again, the Egyptians were a mighty nation. They came out of hand. Our people had a time to reign, Israel. But we never reigned over the whole world. That was reserved unto the sons of Japheth. Because he said all nations shall serve him, and his son and his son's son. The only people we're going to see that has ever ruled this world is going to be 4 ruling Gentile kingdoms. And I know people like to say that Gentiles are Israelites. We ain't never ruled over nothing. We had a land and was kicked out of that because we refused to obey God. But he said concerning the Babylonians, or Babylon, he said all nations gonna serve him, and his son and his son's son, until the very time of his land come. He said that many nations and great kings shall serve themselves of him. Turn over. I'm sorry, thank you. Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass that the nation and kingdom which will not serve the same Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon,
What's going to happen?
and that will not put their neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon, that nation will I punish, saith the Lord,
Go ahead.
with the sword, and with the famine, and with the pestilence, until I have consumed them by his hand.
So the Babylonians are going to rule not by their own might, because God had set them up to do so. It's the time of the Gentiles, and they run it. Turn over to Daniel, the first chapter. Because we read how that Nebuchadnezzar came and laid siege against Jerusalem. It took Jehoiakim into captivity. It establishes a time frame. Daniel, the first chapter, Daniel 1. Pick it up at verse number 1. We're going to look at who was amongst the first captives taken by the Babylonians. Go ahead.
In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem, and besieged it.
That would be roughly 605 BC, but go ahead.
And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of God,
Go ahead.
which he carried into the land of Shinar, to the house of his God. And he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God.
And we read about that. But verse number 3, go ahead.
And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes.
And who was amongst those that was brought before him? Go ahead, verse number 6.
Now among these were of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah.
So Daniel was amongst those taken captive. Go right into the 2nd chapter. Because again, King of Babylon is to rule the whole world. And the Lord had Daniel to let him know that it's the time of the Gentiles. And Daniel lets us know that it is the Gentiles that will be in rule of this world when the Lord makes his second coming. Now Nebuchadnezzar has a dream, and it's going to trouble him. Daniel 2 and verse number 1. Go ahead.
And in the 2nd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed.
Go ahead.
But his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him.
So this is approximately some 3 years later, roughly 602 BC. It said that Nebuchadnezzar had this dream. He said, and he dreamed dreams. He said, whereas his spirit was troubled, his mind was just stirred or troubled, and he woke up. Verse number 2, go ahead.
Then the king commanded to call the magicians, and the astrologers, and the sorcerers,
Go ahead.
and the Chaldeans, for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king.
So he had this dream that troubled him, and he wanted to know what this dream was about, what it meant. Go ahead.
And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream.
Go ahead.
Then spake the Chaldeans to the king in Syria, O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation.
They said, just tell us what the dream was, and then we'll tell you the interpretation thereof. But what was the king's reply? Go ahead.
The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, the thing is gone from me.
He said, I don't remember. Go ahead.
If you will not make known unto me the dream, with the interpretation thereof.
He didn't want to just know the interpretation. He said, first and foremost, you tell me what it was that I was dreaming on my bed that woke me up. And then I will allow you to tell me what it was that that dream meant. He said, because that way I know you're not playing. Go ahead.
You shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dung.
Drop down to verse number 10. What was their reply? Go ahead.
The Chaldeans answered before the king and said, there is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's matter.
There's no man that can do that. There's no man that can tell you what it was that you was dreaming and then turn around and tell you the interpretation of your dream. Go ahead.
Therefore there is no king or lord nor ruler that asketh such things that any magician or astrologer or Chaldean.
None would make a request like that. Go ahead.
And it is a rare thing that the king requires. And there is none other that can show it before the king except the God, whose dwelling is not with flesh.
Only God can do this. And he's not amongst men. The one that can do this does not dwell amongst men. Go ahead.
For this cause the king was angry and very furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon.
So he was going to kill them all. And then Daniel makes a request to come before the king because he's going to show him the interpretation thereof. Not just the interpretation. he's first going to tell him his dream, then give him the interpretation. He's going to give him both. Drop down to verse number 25 and go ahead.
Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said thus unto him,
Go ahead.
I have found a man of the captives of Judah, that will make known unto the king the interpretation. The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar,
What?
art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen and the interpretation
So
thereof?
he said, are you able to do both? I don't want you to just tell me about the dream, the interpretation of the dream. First tell me the dream and then tell me the interpretation. What it was that this dream meant. What did Daniel say? Go ahead.
Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, the secret which the king hath demanded cannot the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers show unto the king.
He's letting him know there's no man that can reveal this, but what?
But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets,
Uh-huh.
and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days.
He said, God is the one that's going to reveal this unto you. He said, the secrets which you demand cannot the wise man, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers show unto the king. He said, but there's a God in heaven. He reveals secrets and make it known to King Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. And now he's going to tell him the dream. Go ahead.
Thy dream and the vision of thy head upon thy bed are these. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into thy mind upon thy bed.
And they troubled him. Go ahead.
What shall come to pass hereafter? He that revealeth secrets maketh known to thee what shall come.
For what purpose?
But for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart.
So what was the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had? Go ahead, that troubled him.
Thou, O king, sawest and behold a great image. This great image whose brightness was excellent.
Understand what's taking place here. Daniel is telling this man what this man was dreaming about. He said, "Oh king, this is what you saw. This is what troubled you." He said, "You saw and beheld a great image." He said, "In this great image whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible." Verse number 32. Go ahead.
This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and of his arms of silver.
Go ahead.
His belly and his thighs of brass. His eyes, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay.
And what else was it that Nebuchadnezzar dreamed? Go ahead.
Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them to pieces.
So Nebuchadnezzar dreamed and he saw this image. And all of a sudden he saw a stone. He said that was cut without hand, and notice where it smote the image. Not the head or the shoulders or the chest. He said, but it smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and broke them to pieces. Verse 35, go ahead.
Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together. Came like the shape of the summer threshing floor.
Just disappeared, blown away. Go ahead.
And the wind carried them away. That no place was found for them.
And what this represents is that represents the end. What this image represents. Go ahead.
And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain.
A governing body. Go ahead.
And filled the whole earth.
And again, that represents God's kingdom, because that stone that was covered out hands, that's none other than Jesus. But go ahead.
This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king.
Now he told him the dream, and it had to be accurate, because now the king gonna let him give him the interpretation. Go ahead. Verse 37.
Thou, O king, art a king of kings.
Go ahead.
The God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory.
This is when the Gentiles came into power. Go ahead.
And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand.
We read that in Jeremiah, did we not? Go ahead.
And hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold.
Go ahead.
And after thee,
again, there were previous rulers prior to Nebuchadnezzar, but none had ruled over the entire known world. He said, wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand, ruler over them all. He said, you are this head of gold. Go ahead.
And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth.
Because wasn't the Babylonians, but Nebuchadnezzar was supposed to rule, and his son's son was going to rule? He said, after thee shall arise another kingdom. He said, inferior to thee. And another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. They're going to rule the whole world, but how they're inferior? Because how can you be better than the first one? He was the first to rule the whole known world. Verse 40, go ahead.
And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron.
And it's only going to be 4. Go ahead.
For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things.
What shall it do?
As iron that breaketh all these shall it break in pieces and bruise.
Again, he's using alloys. The Lord is to differentiate these different kingdoms at this time. Go ahead.
And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided.
Go ahead.
There shall be in it of the strength of the iron. For as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay.
Because they're going to be joined together. But they're going to retain their sovereignty. But go ahead, verse number 42.
And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken.
Some weak and some stronger. Remember, it is the toes that this stone covered our hand. That's what smote the image upon his feet. Verse 43, go ahead.
And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay,
go ahead.
They shall mingle themselves with the seed of men.
But what?
They shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay.
Again, they're going to retain their sovereignty. Go ahead.
And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom.
So they're going to be around. They're going to be in charge. When the Lord makes his second coming, he said, and in the days of these kings, these 10 kings, shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. Go ahead.
Which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people. But it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever.
Daniel was revealing that what started with Nebuchadnezzar was going to last all the way down to the coming of the Lord. He's letting you know who's going to be in charge, who's going to be ruling when the Lord makes his second coming. Verse 45, go ahead.
For as much as thou sawest that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hand, and that it brake in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold.
Go ahead.
Great God hath made known to the king what shall come and pass thereafter. And the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure.
He told him what the dream was. So the interpretation had to be true. Verse 46. What was Nebuchadnezzar's reply? Go ahead.
Then the king Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face and worshipped Daniel.
Go ahead.
And commanded that they should offer an oblation and sweet odors unto him. The king answered unto Daniel and said, of a truth it is that your God is a God of gods,
go ahead,
a Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets. Reveal this secret.
Nebuchadnezzar confirmed that what Daniel said was true. But more importantly, he confirmed that there is a God. Turn over to Ephesians, the 2nd chapter. We're going to see who the stone is that smote the image upon his feet. Ephesians 2, verse number 19. Because that stone is none other than Jesus. Here Paul is telling the Ephesians what the foundation is that they are built upon. They now have become a part of God's church. Ephesians 2 and 19. Get there.
Now therefore ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and of the household of God, and are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets.
Go ahead.
Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone.
He said, now look, speaking to the Ephesians, you didn't get anything new. He said, you are no more strangers and foreigners. He said, but fellow citizens with the saints and the household of God. You are now a part of this. There's no such thing as this, that salvation is for the Jews only. The Gentiles were brought in. He said, and you are built upon the foundation of the apostles and the prophets. Jesus Christ himself being the chief cornerstone. That's the stone that was cut without hand. That's the stone that's going to smoke that image upon the feet when he makes his second coming. Turn over to Daniel, the second chapter. I'm sorry, Daniel, the 7th chapter. Because we're going to look at these kingdoms again. So often the Lord will show you the same thing in different ways so that you are assured to get the message. Before the Lord used alloys to denote these 4 kingdoms, here he's going to use the beast of the field. Daniel 7, we're going to pick it up at verse number 1. Daniel 7. Because Daniel has a vision, a dream. And again, it representing these 4 kingdoms that we just got through reading about. Daniel 7. Pick it up at verse number 1. Because this is approximately taking place in 553. Go ahead.
In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed.
Go ahead.
And he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matter. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea.
What took place?
And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another.
Now notice, Daniel said that he had a dream. He saw in his vision by night. He said the 4 winds of the heavens strove upon the great sea. He said that 4 beasts came up, and notice it's only 4. He said diverse one from another. Drop down to verse number 17. The Bible tells you what these beasts represent. Go ahead.
These great beasts, which are 4 kings, which shall arise out of the earth.
So, what Daniel saw was these 4 kingdoms that we just got through reading about in the 2nd chapter of Daniel. But in the 2nd chapter, the Lord used alloys, minerals to represent those kings. But now he's going to use the beast of the field. He said these great beasts, he said, which are 4, there are 4 kingdoms, are 4 kings which shall arise out of the earth. And mind you, it's only going to be 4 that's going to rule over the whole world. Pick it up at verse number 18 and go ahead. Then what's going to happen at the end of the time of these 4 kings? Go ahead.
But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom.
They're going to receive the kingdom. Go ahead.
And possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever.
Drop down to verse number 4 and go ahead. Because we're going to look at this first beast. Go ahead.
The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked.
Go ahead.
And it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man. And a man's heart was given to it.
So we know this first kingdom had to represent, or was the Babylonians. This was the lion. Where Daniel said in the 2nd chapter, he was the head of gold. Like a lion and had eagle's wings. He said, I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked. And it was lifted up from the earth and made to stand upon the feet of a man, and a man's heart was given to it. But now he's going to tell you about this second beast, of the second kingdom. And what was the beast that represented it? Go ahead.
And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear. And it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto us, arise, devour much flesh.
Now we know that Babylon is the first king to turn over to Daniel, the 5th chapter. And we're going to see who the second kingdom is. That's represented by a bear. Daniel, the 5th chapter. And what we just got to read happened actually prior to what's taking place here. But this is roughly 539 BC. And you'll see why I use that date. Daniel 5:1. Go ahead when you get there.
Belshazzar the king made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords, and drank wine before the 1,000.
Go ahead.
Belshazzar, whilst he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the gold and which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple, which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink in them. Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of God, which was at Jerusalem, and the king and his princes and his wives and his concubines drank in them.
So they're having a good time. They're having a feast. And they're taking the vessels that Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the house of God. And then they drinking out of them. They're going to start praising all these false gods. But go ahead.
They drink wine and praise the gods of gold, and of silver, of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone.
Now the Lord's going to get their attention, and look what took place. Go ahead.
In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand, and he wrote upon the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote.
That's where you get that saying, the handwriting on the wall. All it was an angel. The Lord sent an angel down there, and he allowed the hand of the angel to be revealed to him, but all they saw was a hand that was right. Verse number 6, go ahead.
Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote one against the other.
So he had got his buzz on, but that was all gone after this. He looked over there and saw that hand. He said his countenance was changed. His thoughts troubled him. He said, so that the joints of his loins were loosed and his knees smote one against another. Again, seeing this take place troubled him greatly. So what did he do? Verse 7, go ahead.
The king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. And the king spake and said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing and show me the interpretation thereof,
what's going to
shall
happen?
be clothed with scarlet and have a fine chain of gold about his neck, and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom.
And the reason he said the third ruler was because, again, Belshazzar wasn't a ruler. His father really held the throne. But go ahead, drop down to verse number 10, because he wanted somebody to come and to show him the interpretation of the writings that was on the wall. Verse number 10. But none of his wise men or his astrologers could do so. But what did the queen remember? Go ahead.
Now the queen, by reason of the words of the king and his lord, came into the banquet house.
Go ahead.
And this queen spake and said, O king, live forever. Let not thy thoughts trouble thee, nor let thy countenance be changed.
Why is that?
There is a man in thy kingdom, in whom is the spirit of the holy God. And in the days of thy father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the God, was found in him.
He said, she came to the king and told him, don't be troubled, because there's someone who can show you the interpretation and the meaning of this. He said, there's a man that resides in your kingdom. He said, in who is the spirit of the holy God. He said, and in the days of thy father, knowledge and understanding and wisdom like the wisdom of God was found in him, whom the king Nebuchadnezzar, thy father, the king, I say, thy father, made master of the magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. Verse 12, go ahead.
For as much as an excellent spirit and knowledge and understanding, interpreting of dreams, and showing forth hard sentences, and dissolving of doubts, were found in the same day. Daniel, whom the king named Belteshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will show the interpretation.
She said, go get Daniel. And Daniel can tell you the interpretation. Drop down to verse number 25 and go ahead.
And this is the right.
When it got Daniel, Daniel's going to tell them the writing and interpretation thereof. Go ahead.
And this is the writing that was written. Mene take out your farce.
Go ahead.
This is the interpretation of the thing. Mene, God hath measured thy kingdom and finished it.
Now Babylon is in rule, and he's letting him know that your rule has come to an end. Go ahead.
To kill. Thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting.
What's going to happen?
Good. Thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians.
He said your kingdom is going to be taken or divided and going to be given, he said, to the Medes and the Persians. Go ahead.
Good. Thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet and put a chain of gold about his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him, that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. And that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain.
And what happened?
And Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old.
And we're going to find out without any resistance. It said that very night, it said Darius the Mede took the kingdom, and we're going to see who he took it on behalf of. Turn to the first exhibit, exhibit 1. But the lion was Babylon. And now we're going to see who this second beast of the bear represented. It said that the kingdom was divided and given to the Medes and the Persians, and that's who Darius took the kingdom on behalf of. Cyrus, the Persian, exhibit 1, if you can read that from Funk and Wagner's encyclopedia, because history is going to confirm what we just got to reading in the Bible. Go ahead when you get there.
Cyrus the Great, circa 600 to 529. When Cyrus became ruler in 558 BC of the Persian district of Anshan, the district was subject to the Medes. In 593 BC, he led a rebellion against the Medes that resulted in the capture of King Astyages. This is about 584, 550 BC. And the overthrow 550 BC of the Median Empire.
So what you have is you're going to have a co-rulership of the Medes and the Persians, but the Persians are going to be the more powerful of the two. It said that Cyrus led a rebellion against the Medes that resulted in the capture of King Astyages and the overthrow of the Median Empire, Babylon, Egypt, and Lydia, and the city-state of Sparta in Greece, combined to curb the power of Cyrus. But in 546 BC, the Persians added Lydia to their realm, and in 539 BC, the kingdom of Babylon fell to Cyrus. What does it say in Zanovan's Pictorial Bible Dictionary?
With the defeat of the Medes, and Astyages, king of the Medes, was vanquished by Cyrus, the realm of Persia commenced to assume threatening proportions.
Go ahead.
Cyrus himself announced his genealogy.
What he said?
I am Cyrus, king of the host, great king of Babylon, king of Sumer, and Acre. And this same,
he was king of the whole known world. But go ahead.
In this same inscription, Cyrus proceeds to relate how the city of Babylon opened its gates to him without resistance.
So it was taken without a fight. Darius took it, but he took it on behalf of Cyrus, the Persian. Go ahead. Thus confirmed Say, thus confirming the biblical account recorded in Daniel 5 when Darius acting as vice regent for Cyrus. He was acting on behalf of Cyrus. Took the city of Babylon in the name of Cyrus the Great. And go down to Compton's Encyclopedia 2003. The last sentence. It says Babylon itself, capital of the Chaldean Empire, was taken without fighting again in 539 BC and became part of the mighty Persian Empire. Turn over back to Daniel, the 7th chapter. We're going to look at this third kingdom, which is again represented by a beast. Daniel 7 and 6. One verse. Because the first beast he saw was like a lion. That represented the Babylonians. And then the second beast he saw was like that of a bear. That represented the Medes and the Persians. But now this third beast, what was it like unto? 7 and 6, go ahead.
After this I beheld, and lo, another, like it, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl.
Go ahead.
Beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
So what it's showing you is the rulership of this third kingdom. I beheld the Lord like a leopard. He said in which it had the back of it 4 wings of a fowl, and the beast also had 4 heads. He said that dominion was given unto it. So the leopard of this kingdom took over from the Medo-Persians. Go right into the 8th chapter of Daniel. We're going to let the Bible explain what's to take place. Daniel 8. And we're going to see who this third kingdom is. Daniel 8. Pick it up at verse number 1. 8 and 1. You go ahead when you get there.
In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me.
Go ahead.
Even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw the vision, and it came to pass, when I saw that I was as Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in the vision, and I was by the river of Eli.
Now he's going to tell you what it is that he seeing, what it was he was seeing in this vision. Verse number 3, go ahead.
Then I lifted up mine eyes, and saw, and behold, there stood before the river of Ram, which had 2 horns.
And horns represent kings. He said, I lifted up mine eyes, and I saw, and behold, there stood before the river. He said, a ram, and this ram had 2 horns. Go ahead. And what did he say about the horn?
And the 2 horns were high. But one was higher than the other. And the higher came up last.
So he saw this ram that had 2 horns. And the one horn was higher than the other, more powerful than the other. He said the one was higher than the other, and the high came up last. Go ahead, verse number 4. I'm sorry, drop down to verse number 20. Let the Bible tell us what it is that this ram represents, this beast. Go ahead.
The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia.
And remember, the Persians were the more powerful. And they're the ones that came up last. He said, that's why Daniel said, I saw there stood before me the river of Ram, which had 2 horns. The 2 horns were high, but the one was higher than the other. And the higher came up last. And he's telling you that ram represents the kingdom of the Medes and the Persians, the Medo-Persians. Go ahead. Drop down to verse number 4. Because what was this ram doing?
I saw the ram pushing westward and north and south, so that no beast might stand before him.
No other kingdom was able to withstand the power of this ram. Go ahead.
Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. But he did according to his will and became great. Again,
the Medes and the Persians ruled the whole known world. But something's going to take place concerning this ram. Verse number 5. Go ahead.
And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth.
Go ahead.
And touched not the ground.
It was moving so swiftly. Go ahead.
And the goat had a notable horn between its eyes.
Now, normally goats have 2 horns, but what it is, this signified that it only had one notable horn, because this signified and it had one ruler at this time. But go ahead.
And he came to the ram that had two horns, which I had seen standing before the river.
Go ahead.
And ran into him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram.
What did he do?
He was moved with choler against him. And smote the ram and brake his two horns.
Go ahead.
There was no power in the ram to stand before him. But he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him. There was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
Go ahead.
Therefore the he-goat waxed very great. And when he was strong, the great horn was broken.
And what took place?
And for it came up four notable ones toward the four winds.
So you had this ram that was destroyed by this he-goat. It said the goat waxed very great and he was strong. But that notable horn, that great horn, was broken. And what that symbolizes is that's the end of that king. He said, but then came up four notable ones toward the four winds of heaven. Daniel said it was like a leopard because it was moving so swiftly. But then it had four heads on the back of it. That's the four horns that came up out of this one that was broken. Drop down to verse number 21. And the Bible will tell you what that horn represented that was broken. Go ahead.
And the rough goat is the king of Greece.
Again, the king of Greece was none other than Alexander the Great. He said the rough goat is the king of Greece. So go ahead.
And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
And then when he died, what took place?
Now they're being broken, whereas four stood up for him.
Four rulers came and took his place and ruled over what he had ruled. Go ahead.
For a kingdom shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power.
Now, Daniel told us there was a battle that took place between this ram and the he-goat. We're going to look at that. And we're going to see what those four heads on that leopard, who they were. Turn it, the second exhibit. You started funkin' wagons, encyclopedia. He's going to tell us about this battle. History's going to confirm this battle that we just got to reading about, that Daniel referred to as taking place between a ram and a he-goat. Funkin' Wagner's encyclopedia. Go ahead when you get it.
Funkin' Wagner's encyclopedia. Darius III called Codominus, 380 to 330 BC, king of Persia, 336 to 330 BC, great grandson of Darius II. He was placed on the throne by the Unibigoes, approximately 336 BC, following the latter's assassination of Artaxerxes III, roughly 358 to 338 BC, who had reigned for about 20 years, and Narcissus died about 336 BC, who had reigned for 2 years. Darius in turn killed Bagoas. In the course of his 6-year reign, Darius III led the Persian army against the forces of Alexander the Great of Macedonia, but was defeated at the Battle of Issus in 333 BC and Gaugamela in 331 BC. He was killed by one of his own satraps while fleeing from Gaugamela.
Now, Daniel had prophesied of this battle taking place years before it actually occurred. Because when you read that in Daniel, the 8th chapter, it said in the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, that was roughly 550 BC. The battle took place in 331 BC, some 219 years later. But Daniel had told you, we read in the Bible, we didn't have to speculate. It told you that there was going to be there was a battle that took place between the Persians and the Greek, and how that Alexander overthrew the Medes and the Persians. But it also told you that that notable horn, it broke and 4 more came up in its stead. If you read 1999 Growler's Interactive, go ahead.
1999 Roller Interactive. Alexander III, king of Macedonia, called the Great, conquered the Persian Empire and annexed it to Macedonia.
Go
He
ahead.
died June 323 without designating a successor.
And as a result of that, what happened?
His death opened the anarchic age of the Diadochi. Alexander at once became a legend to the peoples that had seen him pass like a hurricane.
He moved so swiftly. That's why Daniel, that's why the Lord used the animal, the leopard to represent the speed which he came up on the world. But again, he died. And then 4 of his generals are going to take over and rule in his stead. That's why the leopard had 4 heads on the back. And Daniel, when we talked about the battle between the ram and the he-goat, the notable horn was broken and 4 more horns came up in his stead. Who they are. Just read where it says the Macedonian, I'm going to pick it up where it says the Macedonian Anagonus. He was one of the Diadochi of Alexander the Great. He was the governor of Perga under Alexander. And after Alexander's death in 323, he joined the alliance against Percardus, killed Eumenes after a long war. About 316, controlled the eastern provinces of the empire. He was one of the stronger generals of Alexander. But if you go down to the last sentence, it says successful in the field, Antigonus was unsuccessful in his diplomatic effort to keep his enemies isolated. Their alliance defeated and killed him at Ipus in Antiloa in 301. So Antigonus, one of the stronger generals, didn't rule. He was killed. Go ahead with the next one. Just where it's highlighted. What happened to the next one? His next general?
Perdiccas was killed in Egypt by mutineers while marching against Ptolemy.
Coming against another general, he was put to death. What about Antipater? Antipater, go ahead.
In 322, Antipater defeated a Greek rebellion and had some anti-Macedonians, notably Demosthenes, executed. Taking part in the attack of Perdiccas, he was appointed regent after Perdiccas' death in 321.
Go ahead.
He took the joint kings Philip III and Alexander IV back from Asia to Macedonia, where he died.
So he didn't get the role. Now Demetrius, this is Antigonus' son. He said he conquered Greece as a liberator in 304 to 302, but he was partially to blame for Antigonus' defeat and death in 301. And Isis, retaining control of the sea, he seized the throne of Macedonia after some years of confused fighting, but he soon made himself unpopular and lost the kingdom to Lysimachus and Parthia. Invading Antilia in 287, he had to surrender to Seleucus, and he drank himself to death. So he wasn't one of the 4. Pick it up with Ptolemy the first.
Ptolemy the first, approximately.
These are the 4 that represent the 4 heads on the back of that leopard. These are the 4 that was to rule instead of that one notable horn that were broken. Go ahead.
Circa 367 to 283, created the political and military foundations of the Ptolemaic dynasty of Egypt. 323 to 330. When Alexander the Great died in 323, Ptolemy, one of Alexander's leading Macedonian generals, became satrap or governor of Egypt. In 304, he declared himself king.
So he was over the part, he ruled over Egypt. But the next one, Seleucus, go ahead.
Seleucus first, Nicator, the conqueror, 358, was the greatest of the Diadochi of successors of Alexander the Great. He fought under Alexander, and after the king's death in 323, received the province of Babylonian. He fled to Egypt after Antigonus I conquered Eumenes in 316, but in 312 he regained Babylonia with a handful of men and gradually won from Antigonus all the Macedonian empires east of the Euphrates. He took the royal title in 305.
So he had a portion where he ruled. Lysimachus.
Lysimachus, circa 306 to 21, a senior Macedonian officer under Alexander the Great, was assigned rule over Thrace after Alexander's death in 323. He pacified the natives, then joined the alliance against Antigonus I, and in 306 to 305 assumed the royal title. Expanding his power to the north, he took part of the final victory in 301 over Antigonus and gained most of Anatolia. In alliance with Pyrrhus and Epirus, he drove Demetrius I, Paleoxides, from Macedonia, then expelled Pyrrhus and won sole control of Macedonia and northern Greece.
So now you have the third head, and the last one being Cassander.
Cassander, circa 358 to 297, king of Macedonia, was son of Regent Antipater, and one of the Deodatai, or successors of Alexander the Great. Allied with Antigonus I, he secured control of Macedonia and most of Greece by 316. He murdered Alexander's mother, Olympias, widow Roxana, and son Alexander IV before assuming the royal title in 305.
Daniel called this some 200 years before he came into existence. He prophesied how that Alexander the Great would take over the world, but not only that Alexander would take over, but that he would die, and that his 4 generals would rule in his stead. And we're going to look at this last beast. Turn back to Daniel, the 7th chapter. Daniel 7. Pick it up at verse number 7. Now the first beast was a lion, and the second beast was a bear, and then the third beast was a leopard with 4 heads. And so that represented the Babylonian kingdom, the Medo-Persians, and the Greeks. Verse number 7. Go ahead.
After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, the 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceeding, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it.
Now this beast, all the other kingdoms, and the Lord didn't have an animal to represent it. It just said that it was a dreadful and terrible and strong, exceeding. And why it was diverse from all the other kingdoms, or the other beasts, because it just didn't destroy you physically. We're going to find that this beast destroyed you also spiritually. But go ahead.
And it had 10 horns. Verse 8. I considered the horns, and behold.
Before you go on, because there's a lot to this, I'm trying to make sure we cover it all. So it says that this beast, this 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, strong exceeding, he said it had great iron teeth that devoured and break in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. And notice it said, and it had 10 horns. Horns represents king. And these are the kings that's going to be ruling in the latter days. Remember when we read in Daniel, the 2nd chapter, where did the stone that was cut without hands, it smote the image on his feet, the 10 toes, those 10 kings. But go ahead. It says, and there came up among them a little horn. Pick it up at verse number 8.
I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn.
Go ahead.
For whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots.
And horns represent kings. But go ahead.
And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things.
So what you have also with this beast, it says, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them a little horn. And before there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. The 10 horns also represent what this beast is. The rise and the fall of this kingdom is going to occur 10 times. And the last time is when the Lord is going to destroy. He said, I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn. We're going to see what this little horn represents, because horn represents kings. He said, before whom there were three of the first horns plucked up by the roots, or the first three kings that were disposed of. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. Verse number 9, go ahead.
The hills of the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit.
Go ahead.
Whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool.
So they were in power until the Lord came. He said, I beheld till the thrones were cast down. Because again, the stone cut without hands smote that image on the feet, on the 10 toes. He said, I beheld till the thrones of the Gentiles were cast down, and the Ancient of Days, there's none other than Jesus, did sit, who said, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. Go ahead. His throne was like a fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. You got 4 kingdoms, and then the Lord is going to come and establish his kingdom and sit upon his throne. We're going to let history tell us who this 4th beast is. If you turn to the 3rd exhibit. The 3rd exhibit. You pick it up with Groland Encyclopedia.
Groland's Encyclopedia. In the history of Greco-Roman civilization, the period between the death, 323 BC, of Alexander the Great, king of Macedonia, and the beginning of the Roman Empire, 30 BC.
Now, Rome is the 4th kingdom. Rome is that great and terrible, dreadful beast. But they didn't take over from the Greeks until 30 BC. Daniel called these 4 kingdoms in succession back in 602 BC. So some 500 years later, this last kingdom is coming on the scene. He said in the history of Greco-Roman civilization, the period between the death, 323, of Alexander the Great, king of Macedonia, and the beginning of the Roman Empire, 30 BC, is usually called the Hellenistic Age. If you pick it up at the next one, World Book Encyclopedia. Again, Daniel prophesied these kingdoms some 500 years before it all came into fruition. Go ahead.
World Book Encyclopedia. 7 BC. The reign of Augustus marked the beginning of the Pax Romana, Roman peace, which lasted for 200 years. No country was strong enough to wage war on Rome or to pose a serious threat to the frontier.
But now their military might didn't continue. Go ahead.
Commerce flourished and the standard of living rose.
Encyclopedia.
Encyclopedia.
We're going to see what happened with Rome.
From 395, the empire was permanently divided into the Latin Western and the Greek Eastern or Byzantine Empire. The Eastern Empire lived on until 1453, when the Turks conquered Constantinople. The Western Empire was overrun and gradually dismembered by various Germanic tribes.
So it's going to tell you 2 of those tribes that took a portion of Rome. Go ahead.
In 410, the Visigoths, and in 455, the Vandals plundered the city of Rome.
Go ahead.
Finally, in 476, the German Odoacer deposed the last emperor of the West, the child Romulus Augustulus. And so the history of ancient Rome ended ingloriously.
So Rome, it says in 476, that's the date that they marked the end of the Roman rule. And who took a part of Rome? It said the Visigoths, the Goths in 455, and the Vandals. They took a part of Rome, these Germanic tribes. And what they were trying to do, they were trying to also restore the glory of Rome. But we're going to see who else took a portion of Rome. If you read the pictorial history of Italian people,
another general, Orestes, possibly a Roman and not a barbarian, nominated his teenage son, Romulus Augustus, Augustus, emperor in 475. The following year, Odoacer, leader of a motley collection of mercenaries, mainly Herodians, deposed Romulus Augustus, nicknamed Augustulus, after having defeated and killed Orestes. The year 476 is generally accepted as marking the end of the Roman state in Italy. Actually, the events of that year meant little to contemporaries. Odoacer was just one of the many German tribal leaders who, since the beginning of the century, had created a state in Roman territory for themselves and their followers.
So you had the Ostrogoths, or the Goths, and the Vandals, and the Herodians, all of them had gained a portion of Rome. And before we see what happened to the three of them, we're going to find out about this little horn, because it said horns represent kings. And Daniel said that this fourth beast was diverse and different from all the other beasts. And I said the reason being is that it just didn't destroy you physically, it also destroyed you spiritually. So when the military might of Rome waned, there was another leg of Rome that continued its influence over the world. World Book 2003. You pick it up there.
World Book 2003, the early Middle Ages. In AD 476, barbarian forces led by the Germanic general Odoacer deposed the last emperor of the West Roman Empire. Many historians use this day to mark the end of the Roman Empire in the West and the start of the Middle Ages.
Again, that was the end of their military might. But what does it go on to say?
During the Middle Ages, the influence and power of the church reached its peak. The papacy gradually replaced the empire as the center of authority in Western Europe.
And as I say, horns represent kings. In the World Book 2003, Vatican City, this is that little horn. It's a Vatican City, pronounced Vatican. Population 1,000, is the smallest independent country in the world. But it is still a country. It's a country within a country. It serves as the spiritual and governmental center of the Roman Catholic Church, the largest Christian church in the world. It has over 2 billion people. Say Vatican City covers only 109 acres, but it exercises spiritual sway over millions of Roman Catholics. Its ruler is the Pope. Vatican lies entirely within the city of Rome, Italy, but it is foreign soil to Italian citizens. Vatican City has been an independent country since 1929, when Mussolini signed the Lateran Treaty, which signed over Vatican City to the Pope. And again, it's a country within a country. So what you have is you have a secular leader who is also a religious leader. He's a king. And his influence is evidenced by when the Pope John Paul died. All the leaders, the world leaders, came to pay their respect to their comrade. You pick it up at World Book Encyclopedia. You're going to read this for something we need later on.
World Book Encyclopedia. Rome lies on both the banks of the Tiber River in central Italy, 17 miles east of the Tyrrhenian Sea. The city is on about 20 hills, but its outskirts have some wide stretches of flat ground. These hills include the famous 7 hills on which ancient Rome was built.
Okay, now what we're going to do, you flip right over, we're going to see what happened to those Germanic tribes that took a portion of Rome, those 3, the Goths and the Vandals and the Herodians. Because remember, they said this beast had 10 horns, and I said the horns represent the rise and the fall of Rome 10 times. This is this 4th king, because horns represents kings. This is the 4th king, Justinian. It says in 535 the Roman emperor in the east, that he had been crowned emperor in 527 AD. He said, but in 535, the Roman emperor in the east, the able Justinian, bent on re-establishing the unity of the empire. All these kings, what they were all had in mind was they wanted to restore Rome back to its glorious times. Sort of like what you hear today, make the so-and-so great again. He said in he sent an expeditionary force to Italy. In his eyes, as in the eyes of all the native Italians, Italy was still very much an integral part of the Roman state. Surprised initially by the attack, the Gauls soon rallied behind their leaders. While most Italians looked on, a ferocious war was fought for nearly 2 decades between the armies of the Gothic kings and those of the legitimate ruler emperor. Finally defeated, the Ostrogoths disappeared from the pages of history. Because there was 3 that was plucked up. The Ostrogoths of the Goths was one of them. It says, Justinian's aim was the restoration of the earlier Roman Empire by reconquest of areas lost to the Germanic tribes. With the help of his general, I'm not going to try to pronounce it. He regained North Africa from the Vandals, and after the lengthy war, Italy from the Ostrogoths. Justinian also acquired southwestern Spain. You pick it up at the pictorial history of Italian people, because we're going to see what happened to the Herulaneans.
Governed Italy nominally as a representative of the Roman Empire in the east. In reality, he acted as an independent ruler and inefficient. In 488, the Ostrogoths, authorized since around 450 by the government in Constantinople to settle on the right bank of the middle Danube, were led into Italy by their leader, King Theodoric II. Besieged in Ravenna, or the Acer besieged and was assassinated in 493, the Herulaneans were never heard of again.
So you had the 3 that were plucked up. That was the Ostrogoths, the Vandals, and the Herulaneans. That left you 7 kings. Justinian was the 4th king. And now we're going to just read about the 5th one, which is Charlemagne. And the only reason I'm going to read this is we're going to see that it is the Pope who gave these emperors their power and authority. The pictorial history of Italian people, Charlemagne. Charlemagne himself remained after a major figure of Italian lore as did, which modified names the English monk. It says, Cohen, Charlemagne trusted advisor for years, and the gallant knight Rome. All Italians certainly took pride in the revised title of emperor, and in the great ceremony at which Pope Leo III crowned Charlemagne in the old Basilica of St. Peter's in Rome on Christmas Day of the year 800. There had been no emperor of the West since 476. Now Italy seemed again to be the leading Western nation. Funkin Wagner's Encyclopedia of the Holy Roman Empire. On December 25th, 800, Pope Leo III crowned Charlemagne emperor. This act established both a precedent and a political structure that were destined to figure decisively in the affairs of Central Europe. The precedent established the papal claim to the right to select, crown, and even dispose emperors that was asserted, at least in theory, for nearly 700 years. So we've seen the first 5 kings, the 3 were plucked up. Then we looked at Justinian. We looked at Charlemagne. And now we're going to look at, I'm going to just give you a synopsis. You have them in front of you. We're not going to read all this. His name was Otto the Great. And in 962, he was awarded the emperor crown and titled by Pope John the 12th. The next one you see, Groller's Encyclopedia, says Charles V, the 7th king. was Charles V. He had been elected Holy Roman Emperor in 1519. Your eighth king was Napoleon Bonaparte, and he was crowned emperor in 1803 by Pope Pius VII. The ninth king was Benito Mussolini, and in 1929 he signed what's known as the Lateran Treaty, in which the Pope gave up his claim to the Papal States in exchange for money, and also the Pope was made leader over Vatican City. Again, a country, although real small, it is a country within a country. So you have this little horn. He's a secular leader and he's a religious leader. And what we are waiting on is this 10th king. But now, turn back to Daniel, the 7th chapter. And we're going to continue looking at this 4th kingdom. Daniel, the 7th chapter. Daniel 7 and 19. You go ahead when you get there.
Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron and its nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet.
Again, because it was diverse from all the other, because again, it just didn't destroy you militarily. It also destroyed your spirits. Verse number 20, go ahead.
And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell.
Talking about that little horn, but go ahead.
Even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things. His look was more stout than his fellows.
More powerful. Go ahead. And what did this little horn do?
I beheld, and the same horn made war against the saints, and prevailed against them.
He's going to overcome God's people. Go ahead.
Until the Ancient of Days came.
So he's going to be around when the Lord comes. He said, I beheld that same horn, which made war with the saints, he said, and prevailed against thee. He said, until the Ancient of Days came, talking about none other than Jesus. So this fourth beast is going to be in rule when the Lord makes his second coming. He said, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. And the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Only going to be 4 ruling kingdoms. Only 4 that's going to rule the whole world. And then the Lord is going to come in the latter days of this last kingdom and then set up his kingdom. Verse 23, go ahead.
Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. And the 10 kings out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first.
Again, because he was a religious leader as well as a secular leader, but go ahead.
And he shall subdue 3 kings, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
And what else is he going to do?
And think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until the time and times and the dividing of time.
Again, this 4th kingdom and this little horn is going to be around when the Lord comes. Turn over to Revelation, the 13th chapter. Because we saw at Rome, it was defeated. It said in 476 that marked the glorious end of the Roman Empire. We're going to find out that Rome, unlike the other kingdoms, it didn't go away. That's why Daniel said, he talked about that image Nebuchadnezzar had dreamed of. Talked about the toes, the iron and clay, and how that the stone that was covered our hand smote the image on his feet. Revelation 13. Because here, so that image or that kingdom had to be around according to the interpretation that Daniel gave. And here, the Lord had John to tell us that that last kingdom, the Roman Empire, is going to be revived. It's taking place now. People just don't pay attention to what's going on. But 13 and 1. What did John say here?
And I stood upon the sand of the sea.
And the sea just represents the people. Go ahead.
And saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
And what John is saying here, when he says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast come up out of the sea. He saw the kingdom that came up out of the people, and it said it had 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head is the name of blasphemy. What John is showing you is just a composite of the entire Gentile dynasty, plus the 10 kings that are yet to come. He said it has 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns. These are the 10 kings that are yet to come. That's what the toes on the image that Nebuchadnezzar saw, that the storm covered our hands, smoke, and these 7 heads. If you think back, remember the beast. You had the lion of the Babylonians, that would be 1 head. Represented by the bear, that would be 2 heads. Then you had the leopard, which had the 4 heads. So that's 6 heads. Then you had the great and terrible beast, that's the 7 head. And then the 10 horns of the 10 kings, we read about how the 3 were plucked up. And then we read about Justinian and Charlemagne and Charles V, along with Napoleon Bonaparte and all of the great. We waiting on this last one. Then it says, and upon his horns 10 crowns. These are the 10 kings that are yet to come. He said, upon the heads the name of blasphemy. Verse number 2. And he's going to let you know what I'm talking about. This is just a composite of what we just got to read about in Daniel. Go ahead.
And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard.
That was the Greek, was it not? Go ahead.
And his feet were as the feet of the bear.
The Medo-Persians. Go ahead.
And his mouth as the mouth of a lion.
Those are the Babylonians. Go ahead.
And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority.
And the dragon is none other than Satan. It's saying the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Go ahead. But what else did he go on to say? And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death. This is talking about that 4th beast. But notice what it says, and I saw one of his heads as if it were wounded to death. And that wound took place in 476 AD. Go ahead. And his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. So it's talking about the revival of this 4th kingdom. You have people come here and say they see it was the man, he was killed, and he gonna come back to life. This ain't talking about no man. The beast represents the kingdoms. He said, I saw one of the heads as if it were wounded to death. But see, Rome didn't die because it had a religious leg that kept it going. He said, I saw one of the heads as if it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. Go ahead. And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiping this dragon through the false religion that's associated with this 4th kingdom. They worship the dragon, which gave power to the beast. And they worship the beast, saying, who is like the beast? Who was able to make war with him? Drop down to verse number 11 and go ahead. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. And he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And all this is doing is representing the leadership of how this kingdom is going to look in the latter days. He said, I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns. One represents kings. He said, like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. What you're going to have in the latter days, you're going to have this religious king. None other than the Pope. And you're going to have a secular king. The one that's going to be running for head of the EU. Turn over to Revelation, the 17th chapter. Because John tells us how this fourth kingdom is going to look in our day. Revelation 17. We're going to pick it up at verse number 1. Revelation 17 and 1. You go ahead when you get there.
And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither. I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters.
And this great whore, we're going to find out, is none other than this false church. Because God refers to his church as that of being a woman. And he calls this false church a great whore. He said, I'm going to show you the judgment of the great whore. He said, it sitteth upon many waters. Again, talking about the people that it presides over. But go ahead.
With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication. And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
All that bad doctrine. But go ahead.
So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness.
And what did he see?
And I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
So notice who's in control. The woman is sitting atop of this beast. And again, the 7 heads and the 10 horns, that just represents the entire Gentile dynasty. He carried me away in the spirit in the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Drop down to verse number 9, so we know with all assurance what this is talking about. Go ahead.
And here is the man which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth.
Remember the 7 famous hills of Rome we read about, and I told you to keep in mind? So we know that what this is talking about. But now, pick it up at verse number 4. Then you'll understand this also. Go ahead.
And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls.
Because she is filthy, filthy rich. One of the richest institutions in the world. Say the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. And what else did she have, though? Go ahead.
Having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication.
And what's in that cup? All that bad doctrine that you have today, when under the title of Christianity. See, Christmas is in that cup. Easter is in that cup. Dying and going to heaven is in that cup. Sunday worship is in that cup. You can eat anything you want to. It's in that cup. All of the false doctrine that you have today, as the saying said, go, all roads lead to Rome. All of it came from what John said called a great whore. All of it came from. Pick it up at verse number 10 and go ahead.
And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen and 1 is.
Now what we can say at this particular time, we say there are 7 kings and 6 are fallen. Because the first 3 were plucked up. Those were the Hurrians, the Ostrogoths, and the Vandals. He said, now there are 7 kings, and now 6 are fallen. And they said, and the 1 is, and the other is not yet come. We waiting on this one. He said, and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. Go ahead.
11. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th and is of the 7th.
Go ahead.
And goeth into perdition.
He said, the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th. He's the 8th to rule over what this entire Gentile dynasty. He said the beast that was and is not. He said even he is the 8th and is of the 7th, because he's going to come out of that 7th head. This is just the revived Roman Empire. He said, and he goeth into perdition. Go ahead.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet.
That's the 10 toes, but go ahead.
And receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast.
Remember when it said that part iron and part clay? They were mingled together, but they retained their sovereignty. It said they have one mind. They're going to give their power and strength unto the beast, this secular military leader that's going to rule over them. Turn over to Exhibit 4. Because what we're talking about is the regrouping of the Roman Empire. Since its fall, there have been those who have wanted to restore Rome or the empire back to its glorious days, when you can rule over the whole world. There has been none that has ruled over the whole world since the Roman Empire. As mighty as this nation is, and how people want to claim its might, we don't rule over the whole world. We meddle with a lot of people's business, but we don't rule the whole world. There's none that rules the whole world. The last to do that was Rome. But exhibit number 4, because it's been the quest again since Rome's demise to put the empire back, to reunite Rome, to bring Europe back to its glorious past. Because when you look at Europe, think of the United States. If all the states just annexed from the government and operated on their own, you would have something what you have similar in Europe. Because a lot of these countries in Europe, they're about the size of some of our states. What they're trying to do is to reunite them and bring them under one rulership. World Book 2003. Go ahead when you get there.
Beginning after World War II ended in 1945, Jean Monnet, a French statesman, promoted the idea of gradually uniting the democratic European nations, both economically and politically. As a result, in 1951, Belgium, France, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, and West Germany signed the Treaty of Paris, which established the European Coal and Steel Community, ECSC.
So it started, the European Union started out as the European Coal and Steel Community. And what you have is you have these sovereign nations that were going to come together collectively and unite economically, and then they also united militarily. Pick it up at Franklin Wagner's Encyclopedia, Treaty of Rome.
In June 1955, the foreign minister of the 6 nations in the ECSC agreed to examine the possibilities for further economic integration. This new effort resulted in the 2 treaties of Rome of March 1957, which created the European Economic Community, EEC, often referred to as the Common Market, and the European Atomic Energy Committee, Euratom. The latter organization has proved of little importance because the national governments have kept control of their own nuclear power programs. In June 1997, the EU reached agreement on the Amsterdam Treaty, a revision of the existing treaty negotiated in Maastricht. Under the Amsterdam Treaty, EU countries adopted the euro as their common currency or obligated to pay heavy fines if they incur excessive budget deficits.
Because before the euro, all these different countries had their own, if you will, their own currency. But go ahead. European Union.
European Union, EU supranational organization founded on November 1st, 1993, as a successor to the European Community, EC. In addition to taking over the economic responsibilities of the EC, the EU was also charged with forging a common foreign and security policy, P, and creating closer cooperation among the EU member states in the areas of justice, home affairs, and social policy.
So what they've come together economically, politically, and militarily. It said in Fox News, January 1st, 2002, the Europeans test out euro on the first day of currency changeover. When the Paris say for the first time since the era of the Roman Empire, all of Europe is using one currency. In this case, rainbow-colored banknotes called euros. The European Commission website. The euro, the currency at this point of 19 European Union countries, and it lists the countries. And it is right now, the euro banknotes and coins have been in circulation since 1 January 2002 and now part of the daily life of over 336.5 million Europeans living in a euro area. And when it comes to the European Union, you have countries that come in and they go out. Come in and the number rises and falls. That's consistent is that you only have 10 member nations. All the rest are associates. Because remember, you have the 10 toes that represent the 10 kings. Turn back to Revelation, the 17th chapter. Because we're going to see, because they had to be around when the Lord came. And we're going to see what it is that they're going to do. 17. Pick it up at verse number 13, just to remind us of what we left off with. Revelation 17 and 13. Go ahead when you get there.
These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast.
Again, they retain their sovereignty, but they're going to work together collectively. And when you think about it militarily, you talk about Germany by itself, or France by itself, or Italy by itself, or that might not seem like a formidable foe, but it's like anything. Collectively, they are much stronger. It says, and these have one mind, and they're going to give their power and strength unto the beast. And then what are they going to do? Verse number 14.
These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them.
Because remember, the image that Daniel described, it says how that the stone covered out hands smote the image on the feet. He said, these going to make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. Go ahead.
For he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful.
Turn over to Revelation 11 chapter. This is it. Because last week we saw how man was going to try and fight God. Revelation 11, we're going to read one verse. Because what's going to be the outcome of all this? 11 and 15. Because remember that when the image smote, when the stone covered out hands smote the image on the foot, part and it was just dispersed like the chaff on the threshing floor. 11 and 15. Go ahead.
And the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying,
what?
The kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Lord.
They don't belong to man no more. He said the kingdoms of this world, kingdoms of our Lord and what?
And of his Christ.
And what is he going to do?
And he shall reign forever and ever.
And that's the four beasts of Daniel. I want to thank you for your time. We're going to stand up and face Jerusalem and close out.
which art in heaven.
Our Father which art in heaven,
Hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come.
Thy kingdom come,
Thy will be done in earth
thy will be done in earth
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread.
Give us this day our daily bread,
And forgive us our debts
and forgive us our debt,
as we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation,
And lead us not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever.
forever.
Praise the Lord,
Praise the Lord,
for he is good,
for he is good,
and his mercy endureth forever.
and his mercy endures forever.
Praise the Lord God of Israel,
Praise the Lord God of Israel,
for he is good,
for he is good,
and his mercy endureth forever.
and his mercy endures forever.
In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
In Jesus' mighty name we pray.
The King of kings,
The King of
the
kings,
Lord of lords,
the Lord of lords,
the Ancient of days,
the Ancient of days,
our Savior,
our Savior,
and our Redeemer.
and our Redeemer.
Amen.
Again, I want to thank you for your time. Before I forget, let me say, wanted to keep in mind and keep Sister Lula in our prayers. She's going to have a procedure come Monday. And again, I want us all to pray for her well-being. As always, as I say, continue to pray for one another. I ask you to continue to pray for me and for mine. I continue to pray for you.